What happens when a league loses its biggest star?
Yeah,
but she needs to be on a better. She needs to be on a better team.
ESPN is now scrambling over Caitlin Clark's decision to sign a new contract in Europe, and it's got everyone in a frenzy.
And voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin
They're
Clark...
acting like they have any say in her choices, but the truth is, they don't. Clark has packed her bags and isn't looking back.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie.
No matter how much ESPN or the WNBA whine, beg, or stomp their feet. Why? Because Clark knows her worth, and she's got no reason to stay in a league that can't even protect its biggest asset.
What I am upset about is like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
Caitlin Clark has had enough of being the WNBA's punching bag. She's been through the ringer, battling physical defense and enduring questionable officiating all season long. In a recent interview, Clark voiced her frustrations, saying, "I feel like I'm getting hammered. Everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't." She's been roughed up by players, ignored by referees, and targeted by haters who can't stand that she was single-handedly keeping the league alive.
Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
But now she's done. What's the WNBA's excuse? How could they let this happen? Their meal ticket, the one player who brought in the crowds and the ratings, has been under attack all season, facing dirty plays and brutal fouls. Instead of stepping in to protect her, the league sat back and let it happen. Now, everyone's acting surprised that she's decided to head to Europe.
Important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word...
Sorry, ESPN, your golden goose has flown the coop, and all you're left with is a big nest of missed opportunities. Caitlin Clark just dropped a bombshell on the WNBA, and it's almost laughable how ESPN is suddenly pretending to care. She's done with the circus that the league has turned into, and she's heading overseas, leaving behind a trail of shattered dreams.
And this woman swats at the basketball and somehow decides to turn her hand down and her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark. No foul call. No refs stopping the game to go look. Is this a flagrant? None of that.
After carrying the entire league on her back, dealing with brutal fouls, and getting body checked like she was in a hockey game, Clark has finally said enough is enough. And honestly, who can blame her? This isn't just about Clark making a career move. This is about a league that failed to recognize what they had. Remember her final game against the Connecticut Sun? She scored 29 points, had 10 assists, and grabbed 7 rebounds. She was basically a one-woman show while her teammates fumbled around, missing open shots and making mistakes that would embarrass a high school team. And what did the WNBA do? They let the refs treat her like a punching bag, while fans watched, expecting basketball getting something closer to a UFC match. Caitlin Clark was assaulted in her very first WNBA playoff game. Now, all of a sudden, ESPN and the so-called experts are waking up. They're realizing what they had in Clark, a player who brought the league to life. Before she arrived, the Indiana Fever were lucky to bring in 3,000 fans per game. It was more like a neighborhood block party than a professional sports event. But with Clark on the team, attendance skyrocketed to 177,000 fans per game, both at home and on the road, 400% increase. That's not just an impact, that's a phenomenon. Clark wasn't just another player, she was the face of the WNBA. She was outselling league legends like Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi in merchandise, and her jersey sales were breaking records. We're talking about a rookie, outpacing Hall of Famers. She turned the WNBA into must-watch TV, and her games became national events. Yet ESPN and the league acted like she was just another player, giving her lukewarm coverage. Now that she's leaving, ESPN is scrambling to pretend like they didn't sleep on her. It's too late. They missed the boat, and it's already sailing across the Atlantic. Let's talk about viewership for a second. Clark's game against the New York Liberty pulled in 1.5 million viewers, more than some NBA games on TNT. Now that she's gone, what's left? Empty seats, dusty jerseys, a bunch of talking heads at ESPN trying to figure out how they managed to screw up the easiest win in sports broadcasting history. Physicality Clark faced in the WNBA was no joke. It was like stepping into a street fight every time she hit the court. It was hammered, shoved, elbowed. Pretty much every dirty trick in the book was thrown at her. How did the league respond? Pretending it wasn't happening. Imagine being the face of a franchise and the league treats you like a punching bag. The emotional toll it takes is hard to put into words. Every missed call, every cheap shot, chips away at you, and after a while it becomes too much. And the officiating, let's just say it was laughable. Remember the infamous eye poke incident? Clark was literally assaulted on the court. What did the WNBA do? Nothing. No foul, no flagrant call, nothing. It was like the refs were playing See No Evil while Clark got beat up on the court. Wait, it gets even more ridiculous. Alyssa Thomas threw out accusations of racial bias, claiming that Clark's popularity was somehow tied to race rather than her undeniable talent. What did ESPN do? They ran with it, pushing a narrative had nothing to do with Clark's record-breaking performances. Instead of celebrating her talent, reduced her success to a racial conversation. Clark, to her credit, stood her ground, made it clear that her success was the result of hard work and determination. Damage was done. Media coverage of Clark has been twisted from the start, and instead of being celebrated as the next big thing in the WNBA, been dragged into controversy after controversy. Disgraceful, making the WNBA look like amateurs. Caitlin Clark is packing her bags for Europe, and suddenly everyone is acting like they just realized she's the real deal. It's too little, too late. WNBA could have built an empire around her. The face of the league, they dropped the ball. Now, lost their brightest star. ESPN is left scrambling to spin the story in their favor. Luck to Caitlin Clark in Europe. She's heading to a league that will actually value her talent. He won't be torn apart every game while the refs look the other way. Just maybe, this will be the wake-up call the WNBA and ESPN need. The punchline to a joke they didn't even realize they were telling. Caitlin Clark takes her talents to Europe. The WNBA and ESPN are staring at a massive void. Right now, they'll be hard-pressed to fill. Could have built an empire around her. Instead, fumbled the opportunity of a lifetime. Enjoy Europe, Kate. Deserve better than this mess.